All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're breaking down Dave Ramsey's The Total Money Makeover. Now, this isn't some crazy, complicated financial textbook. It's actually a super straightforward, step-by-step plan to get your finances in shape. So, what's the big secret? Well, it all starts with one surprisingly simple idea.
In this quote, this is the heart of the entire book. Ramsey's whole argument is that getting good with money has very little to do with knowing fancy investment terms. It's all about your habits, your mindset. It's 80% what you do, not what you know.
Which, leads to the big question, doesn't it? If it's really just about behavior, why isn't everybody a millionaire? And this is where Ramsey starts to diagnose the huge problems that he says are holding most of us back. Okay, so let's get into the very first and maybe the biggest hurdle. Ramsey says before you can even think about changing, you have to get brutally honest about where you are. And for most people, that truth is hiding behind one massive roadblock. That roadblock is denial. He uses this fantastic metaphor, right? He says most people are financially obese, but they look in the mirror and think, I'm just a little flabby. You're living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in payments, but because everyone you know is doing the same thing, it feels, normal. Ramsey's point is that normal is actually a crisis. And this is where he really clashes with modern culture. We're all told that debt is this smart tool you can use to build wealth. Ramsey's view, it's the exact opposite. It's slavery. He argues that every dollar you send to a lender is a dollar you can't use to build your own future. Debt isn't a tool, it's a trap. And man, this quote just cuts right to the bone, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the psychology of why we get into debt. It's not just a math problem, it's an emotional one. And to fix the math, Ramsey says, you first have to understand the why behind your spending. So, if the problem is denial and a mountain of debt, what's the solution? Well, it's not just about making a few small tweaks. Ramsey says you need a complete, radical shift in your entire approach. And he has this powerful metaphor to describe it, gazelle intensity. Think about it. A gazelle running from a cheetah isn't casually jogging. It is running for its life. That's the mindset he says you need. You have to see your debt as a predator that is hunting your future. It requires focus, sacrifice, and a ton of energy. So what does this gazelle intensity look like in real life? It's intense. You stop borrowing, period. No more loans. He calls it a plastectomy. You literally take scissors and cut up your credit cards. You sell the car with that ridiculous payment. You pick up extra shifts. You live on a strict budget. Every single action is about one thing, freeing up cash to destroy your debt. But all that intensity needs a focus, right? You can't just run around like crazy. You need a battle plan. And that's where Ramsey's most famous strategy comes in. He gives all that gazelle energy a very specific target. It's the debt snowball. Now, I know what you're thinking. The math nerds will say you should pay off the highest interest rate first. But remember that 80-20 rule? This isn't about math, it's about behavior. By attacking your smallest debt first, you get a quick win. You feel that success, and it gives you this incredible motivation. Then you take all the money you were paying on that debt, roll it over to the next one. The snowball gets bigger and bigger until it's an avalanche, crushing your debt. So after all that, all the sacrifice, the extra work, the budgeting, what's the point? What does life actually look like when you get to the other side of this? And this right here is Ramsey's core promise. For a little while, you're going to live differently than your friends. You're going to say no to things. You're going to make sacrifices people might not get. You will live like no one else. But the payoff is that later on, you get to live like no one else, with the level of freedom and peace that most people will never experience. This is the huge turning point. Once you're out of debt, your income, which used to belong to the banks, is finally yours. It's now your most powerful tool to build the life you want. And Ramsey says you can finally start using that money for its three best purposes. And this is the end game. This whole plan isn't about being cheap forever. It's about finally getting the freedom to have fun without guilt, to build serious wealth by investing, and maybe most importantly, to be able to give to others in ways you never thought possible. So what's the real cost of living with debt? Just look at this number. Ramsey did the math, and he found that a typical family, by just investing the money they'd normally send to car payments, student loans, and credit cards, could end up with over $5.5 million. That is the potential that debt is stealing from you every single month. So when you boil it all down, the Total Money Makeover isn't really a book about money. It's a book about behavior. It's about rejecting this idea of normal that keeps people broke and stressed out. It's all about winning that battle against the person you see in the mirror. And that brings us to the very last question, a direct challenge from Ramsey himself. After seeing the whole plan, the problem, the intense cure, and the incredible freedom on the other side, the only question that really matters is the one you have to answer for yourself.